Texas, 1876. A 19-year-old kid named Earl McGee has $3 in his pocket, a borrowed horse, and a job that pays $30 a month. He's been told it's honest work. He's not been told about the part where 3,000 cattle stampede directly at his face. That part comes later. Earl McGee is not special. That's the point. Between 1866 and 1895, the entire lifespan of the cattle drive era, roughly 40,000 men worked as cowboys in the American West. About 1 in 3 of them was black or Mexican. Hollywood forgot to mention that. Earl fits every single category. The word cowboy comes from the Spanish vaquero. Mexican vaqueros invented the lasso, the saddle horn, and the cattle drive itself. Anglo cowboys basically copied everything and took the credit. 1866, the first long drive begins. 260,000 cattle pushed from Texas to Kansas, 1,500 miles on foot. This is the event that creates the entire cowboy industry. The job paid $25 to $40 a month. A hotel room in Abilene cost 25 cents a night. A whiskey cost 10 cents. Earl could theoretically afford 250 drinks a month. He could not afford a gun. A Colt Peacemaker cost $15, nearly half his monthly pay. Most cowboys carried nothing but a knife and a hand-me-down rifle. Every Western movie you've ever seen is a lie. Cowboys got docked pay for losing cattle, damaged equipment, or arriving late. Earl's first month, he got docked $4 for a calf that wandered off. He never saw that $4 again. 4 a.m., no alarm clock. The cattle start moving, and that's your alarm. Breakfast, black coffee, bacon, beans. Same as yesterday, same as tomorrow, for 90 days. Then you ride. 10 to 15 miles a day, in temperatures that swing from freezing at dawn to over 100 degrees Fahrenheit by noon, in the same clothes. At night, you sleep on the ground. No tent, that's just for the cook and the supplies. Somewhere around day 40, Earl stopped thinking about home. Not because he didn't miss it, because thinking about it made the beans taste worse. The cook, by the way, is the most important person on the entire drive. More important than the boss. A bad cook caused more crew desertions than bad weather. The cowboy hat, Stetson, wasn't a fashion statement. It was a rain shield, a horse's water bucket, a pillow, a fan, and a long-distance signal. Wave it slowly equals, I'm okay. Throw it equals emergency. Cost $5 to $20, worth more than a pistol. On every long drive, statistically, at least one cowboy died, not from a gunfight. The real killers, river crossings, where you ride into a flash flood first to test it for your herd. Because if your horse refused to enter, you got off and walked in yourself to prove it was safe. For the cattle, lightning, getting trampled, rattlesnakes, and dysentery, which killed more cowboys than all of the above combined. Gunfights ranked somewhere around 7th on the danger list. Earl knew all of this. He took the job anyway. He had $3, no doctors. The nearest one could be 300 to 500 miles away. The cook doubled as the medic. Whiskey was the antiseptic. The patient also drank the whiskey. This was considered good medicine. Everything so far, the heat, the pay cuts, the beans, none of it prepared Earl for what happened on June 14th. June 14th, 1876. A Thursday. We don't actually know if it was a Thursday, but it felt like a Thursday. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in an hour. The cattle went quiet in that specific way that means they're not calm. They're waiting. Then a single lightning bolt. One cow moved, then 10. Then all 3,000 of them moved at once. And the sound was not like thunder. It was lower than thunder. It was inside the ground. And Earl had exactly 3 seconds to decide whether to ride into it or get out of the way. He rode into it, not because he was brave, because if he lost the herd, the drive boss would dock his pay, word would spread, and he'd never work cattle again. Fear of poverty is a more reliable motivator than courage. Always has been. A 3,000 head stampede covered approximately $45,000 to $100,000 worth of cattle at 1876 prices. roughly $2.5 million today. One cowboy, on $30 a month, was responsible for protecting all of it. The only way to stop a stampede: ride alongside the front of the herd, gradually push the lead cattle into a wide arc until the whole herd circles and runs itself to exhaustion. Called milling the herd, takes 20 to 40 minutes in total darkness, in a dust cloud so thick you can't see your own hands. 2 hours later, Earl had milled the herd. 2,847 cattle accounted for. 153 were gone, dead, scattered, or drowned in a creek 2 miles east. The drive boss deducted $12 from Earl's pay. No argument, no appeal. That was the deal. Earl made $18 that month. He had ridden into a stampede, and the math still didn't work in his favor. That night, he lay on the ground looking at the sky, the same sky as always, full of stars, completely indifferent, and thought about the $3 he'd started with. He was moving up in the world, slowly. He signed up for the next drive 4 months later. Cowboys had no legal protections. No contracts, no unions, no minimum wage. The drive boss's word was law. By the end of a 3-month drive, you were 1,500 miles from home with no way to dispute your pay. Earl did 6 long drives between 1876 and 1884. 1874. Barbed wire is invented. By 1880, the open range is closing. By 1884, the long drive era is already shrinking. Nobody knew what was coming next. By 1884, Earl had enough saved to think, maybe just one more drive. Maybe this is finally working. Then came the winter of 1886. Historians call it the Big Die-Up. Temperatures hit minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit across the Great Plains for weeks. No warning, no preparation, no way to move the herds in time. 75 to 90% of all open-range cattle in the American West died in that single winter. In 4 months, the entire cattle industry that built the Wild West collapsed. And 4 years later, in 1890, the U.S. Census Bureau announced that the American frontier officially no longer existed. The Wild West lasted exactly 25 years, start to finish. Ranchers who'd been worth millions woke up to fields of frozen carcasses. The era of the open-range cowboy ended not with a gunfight, but with a weather report. Earl McGee did not die in a stampede. He did not win a duel. He did not rob a bank. He did not become a legend. In 1889, at age 32, he took $200, everything he'd managed to save from 6 cattle drives, and used it to claim 40 acres of land in Oklahoma during the land rush. He became a farmer. He grew wheat and raised 3 kids, and probably never talked about the stampede because nobody asked. That is the actual Wild West. 40,000 men like Earl, grinding through heat and debt and danger, not for glory, but because the alternative was $3 in your pocket and nowhere to go. Hollywood took their story, replaced them with gunslingers, and made $1 billion. Earl got 40 acres in Oklahoma. The legend of the Wild West was built on men like Earl. Men nobody made legends. What would you have done with $200 in 1889? Buy land like Earl, or just leave America entirely? Let me know below.